Thank you for listening and tuning in to Interview with DJ Nocturnal. If you are listening on my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. My guest this morning is one of the members of the dark electro-goth trio called Dispel. I got Scott Dispel. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure as well. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you because you are the sound engineer and the primary songwriter for the band, Dispel. And I'm sorry the two members can't join us, but I'm sure I would love to have them, but next time. But
Next time.
I'm glad that you can speak on their behalf because
Sure.
you got an amazing singer who has an amazing voice and vocals.
Yeah,
And
Ravensea is awesome. She'll be honored that you said that.
yeah, Ravensea is her name, and I know she's trained in voice. I know
Yeah,
she,
she studied at Berklee School of Music, so she got a vocal performance degree. So certainly world-class training there.
yeah. So tell us how you all collaborated together to form this amazing band.
So it was kind of an odd story how we all met. I'm in Cleveland, so it's what's called the North Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and we're right on the shore of Lake Erie. Excuse me, one of the Great Lakes. And so on Sundays, there's like a local drum circle. So I usually go to the drum circle on Sundays. In the colder weather, we move it inside into this very nice cathedral here called St. Coleman's. So we have a drum circle in a church, and one of the drum circles, she was there. It turns out she was in town just for a few weeks doing music therapy at a local hospital. And so we started chatting, and I'm like, well, hey, I've got a band. Um, and she mentioned she does vocals. So I'm like, well, hey, while you're in town, why don't we collaborate? And so she came to our little humble studio here, and we wrote the lyrics for the song called Modal Consequence. That's on our first album, Lore.
Lore. Mm-hmm.
And basically, she knocked out the vocals in 45 minutes, one take. And I'm like, this never happens. How is this possible? And she's like, oh, I have a vocal performance degree from Berklee. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. So,
Yeah,
um,
and sometimes when you meet the right person that you guys just have in sync. You guys are just so in sync. It just works out the best, right?
I agree. That's the magic of music.
Mm-hmm. Now your third guy, Sean Gallows,
Sure.
he's the bassist and the other vocalist.
Sure. So he's local musician in the underground Gothic music scene. So I've known him for a few years. And then I just mentioned to him, hey, I'm working on this project, not sure what I'm going to do with it. And he's like, well, hey, you need any help, let me know. So he offered, and I took him up on his offer, and it band kind of took on a life of its own after that. So we're still pushing forward.
So how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard your band before?
Well, we're very influenced by fantasy, so I would call it Gothic fantasy rock or Gothic fantasy metal. I'm trying to be the Black Sabbath of dark wave. That is my goal. So we're trying to do a lot of heavy riffs with the keyboards, uh, strong beats, and then the beautiful voice of Ravensea, I think, contrasts the heaviness of the music.
So I know you released your debut album called Lore. Was that after the pandemic?
That was actually, we released it January, so it
Okay.
was like
All right
right
on
when it
there.
was happening. Yeah, right on the nose. So
Oh,
terrible timing. We were actually supposed to tour Germany with attrition. Um, Martin and I were talking about, hey, let's do a tour, and I had a tour guy lined up, and we were starting to talk about vehicles and
oh
some of
yeah.
the logistics, and then just everything went on lockdown and no
Yeah,
tour.
and big shout out to Martin Bowes of Attrition, because I know that his Cage Studios kind of mastered the latest album, right? Or even the first one?
Yeah, but he's done mastering for both of our
Oh,
albums.
okay. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I
He's been to
agree.
Hawaii. I met him. Amazing. Just one of the nicest guys ever. I always say that. If you've been listening to my other interviews, I do mention him quite a bit because he's mastered quite a bit of I don't know, we all travel in the same circles, I guess,
Sure.
being around with the same people, which is great. I mean, I love the scene. It has evolved through the years, but it's a wonderful scene.
I
So,
agree.
so tell us about the first album. I know you have a latest one that we want to talk about in just a bit, but let's just go to the first one. I know Lore. How did that come about with that
Well,
with
it's
that?
kind of a funny story. So, I know I had been wanting to write some of my own music. I've been in bands since high school, working, with a bunch of other musicians, and we'll practice our tails off, 3 days a week and put all this effort into it. And then someone quits the band. So I kind of got sick of that. So I figured this time around, I'll create the music. This way, I'm kind of at least in control of where the band goes, and I don't have to worry about somebody quitting and breaking the band up. So I started writing some music. I'm a professional DJ, so it started out electronically, um, and then I started getting local musicians to do guitar and bass,
Mhm.
and at that point I didn't have lyrics. I didn't know what I was going to do for vocals. We originally were going to have a male vocalist, who kind of sounded a little bit like a Danzig type vocals, and at the last minute he decided he just didn't have the time to put into it, and then fate intervened and I met Ravensea at the drum circle, and we started collaborating and then wrote the Lore album. It's about the hero's journey, which
Mhm.
is like an archetype of the struggle of man and mythology, and the Epic
Campbell.
of Gilgamesh, and all those things are based on the hero's journey. And it's something we all go through,
Yep.
where we're faced with challenges, and we either rise to those challenges, step into the unknown, and become better versions of ourselves, or we stagnate and do not achieve our full potential. So we like to tell stories with our music, and we like to inspire people.
So this latest album that you just released, was it released in October, right?
Yeah, it
Yep.
literally was just released 2 weeks ago.
It's called
So
Inferno,
sure.
which is based on Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, or part of that book. But
Yes, we
so
did.
so would you say your music is inspired? It's a conceptual album, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's wonderful. But that's a lot of work. I mean, that
It,
takes a lot of passion to do something like that. You must have a great literary passion for that.
thank you. Yes, they absolutely love history, love great works of the past ages. Um, and again, like I mentioned, we love fantasy. The darker, the better. So Dante's Inferno was a perfect fit. It was a huge undertaking because we wanted to do it justice, you know. So yeah, we worked on it for 2.5 years, and we're really happy with the results. And we're actually working on putting together the performance for it. We want to do more of a theatrical type of
Oh,
performance.
a live performance?
Yes. So
Interesting.
that's kind of what we're working on now. And we're shooting more towards theaters for this.
Mm.
So it's in the
Oh,
infancy stages, but we felt Dante's Inferno is such a nominal piece of work that it should be
yeah.
done properly.
Oh, yeah, it sure is. And if you look at some of the tracks in here, I know you have 11 songs in the album Inferno. And there's what I love about, I love the seven deadly sins. And I know that's quite mentioned in there. I know you got the theme of lust in there. You got greed, gluttony, wrath. I love it. Yeah. There's so much you can do with that theme.
Oh my gosh. I do a lot of YouTube videos on our YouTube channel, which is Dispel Music. But what I did is I did a YouTube video as kind of like a primer for the album.
Mm-hmm.
where every video I kind of talked about the sin, for example, of gluttony, and
Yeah.
found a lot of uh, older artwork and kind of described it and how it's relevant today. And so, yeah, I just finished the last video last night for treachery, which Dante considered the worst of all the mortal sins.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've always I think that's what got my attention with those seven deadly sins, because I love Geoffrey Chaucer and the Canterbury Tales. That's full of those sins all over from the tales of the from that work, which is a great work of art. So this is great. So what is are you guys planning on doing something with this? Are you guys planning on touring sometime?
Well, I think what we're going to do is, because my singer Ravensea, she's between New Jersey and South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
because of her job of music therapy. So we need to do something that's sustainable. So the thought would be to create a theatrical type of performance that we could do at local theaters, and maybe do it for like a set of shows, like how a normal theater would do a performance for like a week. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. Like I said, it's in the infancy stages, and I've reached out to a lot of local people in theater. They've all been very helpful, but we're really trying to do an interesting theatrical performance for this. So if I bring Ravensea to town, it's financially viable, at least sustainable, that I could afford to keep her here for a week or 2 weeks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Doing the tour thing, we really haven't explored that option. I have toured quite a bit in the past with other bands, and doing $150 show in Detroit or Chicago, it's just not viable for us. It's not sustainable because of our situation. So we thought we'd take a different approach. I don't know if I can reinvent the wheel with this, but so far I've just been trusting my intuition and going for it. So I guess taking big swings.
Wow, it looks like an adventure for sure.
Love it.
And I think it's a process in the works, and I know you guys are gonna do it. I mean, that's a really interesting concept. I mean, it reminds me of a rock album, like how they did it back in the day. Those conceptual albums, rock albums that are so memorable.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
influenced by those. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I can see that in your work. So I'm really happy for you guys. Congratulations in this new album, and
Thank you.
I can see you doing more literary works, because there's so much out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's so much out there, medieval to Victorian and everything else. So do
Yeah.
you like that period, the medieval period? You prefer the
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely a history nerd.
Mhm.
Um, certainly the medieval period uh, holds a huge place in my heart. I'm also a gaming nerd, so we have a local group of guys that I've been gaming with for 30 years. So we play Dungeon and Dragons, and that's all about medieval.
Mhm.
So when I started to create the concept of this band, I was like, what's the music I would most want to hear? And so sometimes we use the tagline "Goth for Gamers." We're trying to make, cool Gothic rock for people who also enjoy gaming, fantasy gaming, things like that. So, yeah, medieval period is definitely number one for us.
And I know you have other you credit other people in the band aside from the other two in your press release.
So
Um
we had a guitarist from Germany, Leonard Konami. He's in a band called Maldurin, and they are like our sister band because they're all about knights and kings and armor and that period of history. So that was a great fit. He does a phenomenal job on guitar. He's a virtuoso. So on the songs Rings of Violence, he does this great guitar solo. A local bassist we worked with, Jamie Baisden, he was in a band called Valkyrie X. And it's funny how like metal kind of has this medieval,
me too,
almost
yeah.
like foundation to it anyways. So it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know that there's so much you can do with this, and big shout out to Shauna from Shameless Promotion PR. I always do a shout out to her because she does such a great job. I always appreciate her.
Yeah, she does a good job for us, and this is our second album we've released through Shameless Promotions. So yeah, she's great to work with. She'll send me texts like, "Hey, you need to repost this and check this out, and you're on the radio here." And she set up this interview. So yes, very appreciative.
She's very helpful. Yeah, wonderful person. Now, if somebody wanted to reach out to hear your music, I know you're in Bandcamp, Dispel Music in Bandcamp, and also you have your own website.
Sure, that's dispelmusic.com, Dispel, Dispel music.com. We're on Facebook, Dispel Music, Instagram, Dispel Music. And then our YouTube, Dispel Music is where I put a lot of videos. All our music videos are there. That's a great source. We love comments. And then if anybody wants to get on our emailing list, you could do that on our website, dispelmusic.com. There's a big red arrow and it asks for your name and email. And if you get on our email list and I send you, hey, here's what's going on, here's the newest music video, I just keep you up to date. And then if we do any specials on t-shirts or the CD or anything like that, so.
Yeah, I know you guys have some merchandise as well in your website.
Sure, yeah, t-shirts and patches and yeah, all who doesn't love band swag?
Oh yeah. Some people collect them, t-shirts and things like that, which is great.
Sure. I have over here in the corner, you can't see it, but I have a shrine to Ghost. For some reason, I just love the band Ghost.
Oh yeah.
Probably the imagery.
Yeah, so if anybody want to do that, you can always check out their video as well. You have a video on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, we have 4 music videos that were professionally done. One was done in South Africa when Ravensea was down there. We just finished one here locally, directed by Rafik Roberts, who
Mm-hmm.
is a local filmmaker, and he just won first place at the Independent Film Festival for his pet project called False Gods. So yeah, we've worked with some very creative luminaries, and that's one thing I love about the music is the other things that spawn from that, working with creative people, and it's just yeah, it's just a great experience.
Now, I also, from what I understand, you're also a DJ.
Correct.
And did you DJ in Germany? There was some connection to Germany.
So when I with Germany, I was there with a band at the time. It was called Face Value. It was a hardcore punk band. So that was like in my mid 20s. So when we were there, we got to go to some underground Gothic clubs, and so that was a whole new experience to me. A punk kid from the suburbs, so that really left a lasting impression on me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to go to a cooler goth club than in Berlin. So I think that was kind of the light bulb that went off and kind of led me down this path to more of a gothic rock style of music.
So do you still DJ
I do
a lot?
still
Yeah.
DJ every weekend. I have a residency at a nightclub by a local college. And then I also have a DJ company. So I do like private events and things like
What
that.
was your DJ
So
name?
Scotty D.
Scotty D. All right.
Yeah.
Check you out.
Yeah.
All right.
Good times.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, anything else we want to mention about anything coming up or anything you want to mention? Now, this album called Inferno was released on October 12th. If anybody want to check that out, it's on the Bandcamp page or on their website, which is dispelmusic.com. And also your once again your all the different social media. You can find you on Facebook as well and Twitter and Instagram.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I had a quick question. So how did you come by the name DJ Nocturna?
That's a good question. I have a DJ friend back in the day, when I first started out, like must be like over 20 years ago, but he goes, because I was gonna call myself DJ Rigor Mortis. Okay, that was one of the options, and I go, nah, I don't want to be DJ Rigor Mortis. I'm gonna be stiffed all the time.
There you go.
What you name yourself is what you become.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, so you gotta name yourself what you really want to be. I guess you could say. So, I like the night, and I like to wear black. So nocturnal.
All right. Well, it's
It's
very
better than
fitting.
rigor mortis, right?
Yeah, that's right. Too many syllables, right?
No, that was just a joke. Actually, I would never call myself rigor mortis because that's just too gruesome.
All right. It
you know,
sounds metal. Rigor mortis.
it'll be like, you'd be like stuck all the time. You won't be able to move quickly, I think, if you
All right.
had a name like that. But
Yeah, cool.
somebody's probably named that DJ Rigor Mortis somewhere and not there. And that's just it's kind of symbolic of death anyway. So,
Absolutely.
but thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Scott, for coming and doing this interview with me. There's so much I know we can talk about, and when you get your new concept album again, which I know you're going to do more in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, we're going to focus on the live performance and see where that takes us and then go from there.
Yeah, it sounds like a really interesting journey.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for coming on the show. Let me just turn this off.